Hi lovebirds, this is Liz, friendly neighborhood reference librarian and cinephile, and these are my movie picks. So, it's February, and that means Valentine's Day. Great if you love chocolate, not so great if you're not a romance fan. As with Christmas movies, I am very picky with my romance movies. I'm not a very schmaltzy romantic person, so much so that The Thing is a date movie for me. So what is someone who isn't romantic to do? You want something to watch with your special someone, but you don't want the cheese and melodrama? I have the solution. Valentine's movies for romance haters. First off, we have a great little movie, Away We Go. John Krasinski and Maya Rudolph play an expectant couple looking for the perfect place to raise their child and meet a number of dysfunctional couples along the way. What keeps this movie from being completely cynical is the fact that Krasinski and Rudolph are consistently caring and level-headed, and the movie has a heartwarming conclusion. Special shout out to Maya Rudolph, who, in addition to being one of our best working comedic actresses, turns in a wonderful, layered performance. Next, we have a trilogy. No, it's not the Star Wars trilogy, although that is close to my heart. It's the Before trilogy. This film series consists of 3 films: Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. And they were released 9 years apart from each other in 95, 2004, and 2013. Director Richard Linklater, who wrote the series along with stars Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, wanted to show a real-time progression of a relationship, from their first chance meeting to being years into a relationship. The movies are both romantic and realistic, almost cynical, but perfect if you want something that resembles a real romance, flaws and all. We now go from a realistic look at love to a screwball comedy with Bringing Up Baby. Cary Grant is a paleontologist who keeps getting into schemes with a ditzy heiress played by Katharine Hepburn. Who's the baby? It's not an infant, it's a leopard. Named Baby. This isn't really big on romance, but Grant and Hepburn have such great chemistry together, and it's no wonder they made 4 movies altogether. If you and your partner like to laugh, this is the movie for you. Continuing on the comedy trend, we have probably the most recent movie on this list, Crazy Rich Asians, or as I described it last year, the rom-com for people who normally hate rom-coms. Fresh off the boat star and one of the funniest people on TV, Constance Wu, stars as Rachel Chu, an NYU professor engaged to a really handsome guy. Oh, and it turns out he's from one of the wealthiest families in Singapore. And while it sounds like a fantasy, the movie is not wish fulfillment. Rachel constantly feels belittled, and everything she does is put under a microscope and judged. Thankfully, your fiancé loves her and everything works out because it's a movie. But if you've ever felt less than welcome by a family, this might be a good fit for you. So fun fact, I went to go see this next movie for Valentine's Day a few years ago. That's right, it's Deadpool. It was marketed as a Valentine's Day movie. And no, I'm not kidding. I genuinely think that Deadpool has a good romantic component. The merc with the mouth might be rude, crude, and continuously breaking the fourth wall while slicing people up with katanas. But a good chunk of this movie is about his relationship with his girlfriend, Vanessa. Ryan Reynolds and Morena Baccarin have great chemistry, and you get the sense that they truly care about each other. And it grounds the movie. It's strange that a movie so profane and violent has such a sweet center, but it works. I'm now going to veer from snarky to sentimental with Ghost. Okay, so this is kind of a mushy romance, I'll admit. In fact, the pottery wheel scene with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze is one of the most referenced romantic scenes in modern cinema history. But I like it because it's a romance with something more, namely murder in the afterlife. It's all about Patrick Swayze trying to solve his murder and protect his fiancée with the help of a medium played by Whoopi Goldberg. It's as much of a thriller as it is a romance, and that's probably why it was such a hit. A movie like this can appeal to anyone, even if you normally don't look for a love story. And speaking of, you have a romance that's also a musical. Once came out in 2007 and didn't get a lot of attention until the song Falling Slowly won Best Song at the Oscars. It's a simple story about 2 musicians who meet and have a connection. If you love music and sincere human stories, I would highly recommend seeking this out. You know, it's been multiple recommendations and I haven't recommended anything horror related yet. Don't worry, that changes now with the one I love. Mark Duplass and Elizabeth Moss play a young couple who go to a cabin to save their marriage and find a different side of themselves and each other. It's strange, unsettling, and will stay with you. You might even look at your partner differently after watching it. Up next, we have a film so beloved that even the most jaded will agree with me. That's right, I'm talking about the Rob Reiner classic, The Princess Bride. There's a reason this movie is a favorite of, well, everyone. It is everything: humor, action, a great script, and a sweet love story. This movie is so beloved that someone on Twitter said that they thought it was overrated and their mentions were a mess for a week, and for good reason. I wouldn't trust someone who doesn't like The Princess Bride. It's one of my favorites, and if you have the money to drop, the recent Criterion Collection Blu-ray release is well worth the cost. Next, we have a movie that is just as sincere, but the ending unfortunately isn't as nice. Seeking a Friend for the End of the World is a movie about the apocalypse, love, and friendship. The world has received news that a 75-mile-wide asteroid will collide with Earth, and all attempts to stop it have failed. Keira Knightley and Steve Carell play two people who would have never interacted with each other in any normal situation, but end up providing each other with comfort and emotional support in their final days. It is a tearjerker. I mean, the fact that they die at the end isn't a spoiler, but a foregone conclusion. But it's also a funny and sentimental journey and a testament to the power of love in dark times. The next movie is just as sentimental, but a little weirder. Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water. Last year's Best Picture winner is a wonderful fairy tale for adults. It's Creature from the Black Lagoon. If the damsel in distress was the hero was a ruthless villain, and the creature was the damsel. It's fun to watch Del Toro, a self-professed fan of all things horror and sci-fi, play with the monster movie tropes he grew up with. It also has a really good subversive angle, taking place in the Cold War, where the normal Leave It to Beaver-style family was the only thing really considered good. Del Toro gives us a tale where the guy with the normal life is twisted and cruel, while the outcasts and marginalized characters are those who are good and kind. Pay no attention to the people who dismiss this as the fish romance movie. It is so much more than that. So thankfully, we're now back on the conventional road with South Side with You. This is strange for a different reason in that it's about a president, but it's not a biopic about their time in office. This is about Barack Obama and Michelle's first date. It's a low-key walk and talk movie with two people just having a day together. Putting aside any political feelings, it's nice to see a romance where there's really nothing extravagant or outlandish or any grand gestures. Just two people getting to know each other, and I think we can all relate to that. On a personal note, my dad's from Chicago and a former Southsider, so I'm a little biased in that aspect. Speaking of bias, the final movie is a total favorite and one that I've been recommending since I fell in love with it as a teen, The Wedding Singer. Yeah, if you're young, believe it or not, Adam Sandler was in a romantic comedy once. He plays a wedding singer that's recently been dumped. Drew Barrymore plays the girl who likes him but is engaged to a guy that's kind of a jerk. It's a little cliche, but good performances, humor, and a rad 80s soundtrack with a dose of genuine sweetness and a cameo by Billy Idol makes this movie a favorite of mine. If you haven't seen it yet, get ready to fall in love. And there we have it. I hope you enjoy Valentine's Day in at least one of these movies. For any more recommendations, feel free to find me at the Derry Public Library's information desk. See you next time.